Welcome, welcome, my friends, to the Marketing Strategy Hub. This is a series of mini trainings that I'm going to be doing to help you with your marketing strategy to go a little bit deeper than just a blog post or a video episode. So let's get started with our first topic is going to be about storytelling. So I want to share some storytelling information to help you develop your business story. And I want to go through the steps of not just why storytelling is important, but to understand how to make this happen. Because I hear this a lot from people who think they have to be great writers or who think that they have to have these amazing, Shark Tank worthy stories that they have to be sharing. But I want you to sit down, um, get something to take some notes with, get a beverage and just relax because this is going to be a little bit of a training, but we're going to be going into things that are even more in depth than just a whole bunch of workbook questions. Okay, so let me introduce myself first. My name is Penny Fox. If you haven't met me before, I have been teaching since 2010, and I have taught at least 125 social media workshops. We have a National Entrepreneur Center here in the Orlando area where I am located. So I have worked with hundreds of small business owners. It's not just coaches, it's not just brick and mortar stores, it's not just people who are selling products. I have worked with all sorts of small business owners. So the the information that I'm going to be sharing with you today applies to you whether you're a coach or whether you're selling something on Etsy. I actually have two businesses too. I have a content marketing consulting company, which I've had for over 25 years. And then there is the Create Your Business program, which I started in 2018, that has the Marketing Strategy Collective, my group program in it. So let's jump right into this today. Let's talk about storytelling content. Because having done this for 25 years and having worked with hundreds of different businesses, I can tell you, and this is personal experience, and this is things that I've heard, conversations that I've had over the years, and I've had many, many years to do this, but I think that a lot of small business owners think about what they're selling, think about this product, think about this service, but they don't think about how they can do it in the form of a story. They just want to create some sort of sales promotion, some sort of, buy here, buy my thing, click here, do this, do that. And I want to tell you that when you bring a story into your content, into your sales content, into your marketing content, you are going to see better results. So let's get into this whole thing about storytelling, especially for those of you who are thinking to yourselves, I am just I'm just not really good at storytelling. This isn't for me because I'm not a good writer. I don't have anything interesting to share. I don't even know where to start or how to share my story. So if this sounds familiar, you're not alone because I wrote these down because these are the things that I hear all the time. So I want to go through each one of these things because I want you to understand that all of those things that you're saying about that are just excuses and things that are holding you back. So let's talk a little bit more about why storytelling even matters in your marketing, why I want you to push through these excuses and to start thinking about how you can add storytelling into your marketing. Because when we think about marketing, it's not just about listing out our features and benefits, saying, oh, my product does this, or oh, my service has been around for 25 years. That's our features and our benefits. Real marketing, real strategic marketing has everything to do with getting people to feel something. Because when people feel some sort of emotional connection to your business, this is when they're likely to engage. This is when they hit the follow button. This is when they go onto your website, download your lead magnet. And this is what's going to get them to convert over to actually start being a customer and to buy from you. So if we think about it, think about this and think about your own buying options that you have done, your own buying habits. If you think about the last time that you purchased something, did you buy just because you were looking at that sales page and it had a whole list of bullet points that are like, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me. Is that why you bought? Or did you buy because you love their backstory and it reminded you of where you are right now and you could see a transformation of where you want to go? Or maybe you signed up for this program because this creator started sharing their story about something that they went through. And it's the exact same thing that you're going through, or something very similar to what you're going through. And so it really starts to resonate with you even more. Or maybe you've even switched brands from something because a company's values are more in alignment with yours. These are all connected to stories. This is all the kind of content that we do that has everything to do with stories, as opposed to just listing out bullet points of stuff that things that we can claim are good about our products, things that we know are good about our services. It's more than just that. Because when you're only posting that kind of buy my stuff, sign up here, work with me without any kind of story connected to it, it feels very cold and transactional. And so people will just scroll right past it. People will say, oh, okay, she's just trying to sell me again. I've already read that again. You know what? I didn't want to buy before. I don't really want to buy right now. But when you take that same marketing message, when you take that same sales pitch that you're using and you wrap it into a story, that's when you're going to find that people will lean in. That's when they want to listen. That's when they want to relate. That's when they want to connect. And then they remember you and then they buy. So that's why it's so important for us to think about how we can increase storytelling content into our marketing mix. So let's talk a little bit about these roadblocks that I shared at the very beginning of the session here, the training session, where I talked about I'm not a good writer. I don't have an interesting story. I don't even know where to start. I want to go through all of these because there's a good chance that you may be feeling some of this too. And if you're not, and if you don't think you are, this is going to reinforce how you can start adding storytelling content into your marketing mix. So let's talk through the roadblocks here. The first roadblock, I'm not a good writer. You don't have to be a good writer to be a good storyteller. I don't want you to think that the idea of storytelling is in any way connected to you writing the next great novel. That's not what this is about. As a matter of fact, it's more about you being you and you naturally telling your story. I want you to think about what happens when you tell a story to a friend. Let's say you're meeting somebody for coffee and you want to let them know what's been going on. Let's say you're redoing your house and you've got all these stories because you've got contractors and this is happening in the kitchen and this is happening in the living room or whatever else is going on. When you were to sit down with your friend, you don't plan out a perfect script. First, I'm going to talk about the kitchen, then I'm going to talk about the living room, then I'm going to talk about the contractors. You just talk. You just share your story. You tell them all these funny things that are happening or all these struggling things that are happening and how you resolved it. You just talk. So this is what I want you to think about when it comes to storytelling. Pretend that you are just talking to a friend over coffee. Pretend that you're just sharing a story. And if you're really struggling with what to write, record yourself. Get out your phone and pull up, an audio app or something like that and record yourself as if you're having this conversation. And then you can run a transcript on this and you can write down exactly what you said. And there's your story. So don't make this so much into I'm not a writer, I'm not really good with grammar. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with who you are and how you can bring you into your story. Which leads us to the second roadblock. I don't have an interesting story. Now, I hear this one a lot because I think that when people think about storytelling, they like to think that it has something to do and it's connected to this great big massive thing that's happened. And it's something that nobody else has experienced before. It's like saying I got VIP seats to the Super Bowl. I flew first class. I stayed at this amazing hotel. Versus, there's this really funny thing that happened to me at the grocery store. Two different scenarios, right? But see, most of us can never relate to what it feels like to go on a VIP trip to the Super Bowl. But every one of us knows what it's like to go to the grocery store and have something funny happen to you because we've all experienced it. We've all been to the grocery store. We've all seen something funny happen to us. And so it becomes that it's not that it's exciting or it's this great, big, huge story. It's because it's relatable. And that's what I want you to think about. Your story is relatable. And I want you to think through these questions here. So, what problem do I solve for my customers? What personal experience made me passionate about solving this problem? What's one challenge that I've overcome in my business that others might relate to? Because how you answer those questions, that is the story. It's not about creating crazy drama. It's about saying, I was at the grocery store and talking about something really funny that happened to you. And if we take that story from the grocery store and this really funny thing that happened to us, how can we weave this into this funny thing that happened to us had everything to do with the choices that we made or the brand that we selected. Could this relate to something that your business does by selecting your brand, by selecting your business? Is this something that's going to make a difference for them? Is it going to show them a transformation? That's the idea of the story. It's not about having this crazy drama. It's more about the story finding a way to relate back to your customers. And so that's what we do with our interesting story. It has nothing to do with having this amazing thing to tell. It's all about being relatable and something that's going to connect you back to how you're helping your customers. And then the third thing is, I don't even know where to start. Well, for you to start, my suggestion has always been to use something called the S3 framework. S3 stands for S, struggle, S, shift, F, S, solution. So if we look at the struggle, what challenge were you facing? The shift, the moment that things changed for you, and the solution, how did you solve it? And how does that connect with what you're offering now? So if we start with this basic framework, I'm going to take you through, I'm going to give you some example here of how we can work this thing through with a story that can be relatable. Because if we look about it from this, we look at it from this place, this S3 framework is what's going to create these stories for you. It's going to transform your marketing. I wanted to give you just an example here. If we think about this, business A, they say we sell high quality handcrafted candles made from organic soy. That's great. I love that idea. But now business B is saying our founder struggled with allergies from store-bought candles, so she created her own toxin-free version. Now she helps families enjoy cozy candlelight moments without harmful chemicals. I just said the same thing that I said before about high quality handcrafted candles made from organic soy, but there was so much more to the story because now you understand why these candles are made this way, because they're toxin free, because the founder had allergies. And now she's taken all of those things because of she had this reaction to store-bought candles. She realized there were other people out there who were feeling the same way too. So she created these candles. So which one would you remember? Just the thing that sounded a lot like a tagline or the one with the story? I'm going to guess it's the one with the story because you could start to see yourself in that. Maybe you yourself are having these type of allergies, or your partner has these allergies, or a member of your family has these, or a good friend has these allergies. So you can relate to that. You're like, oh, yes, yes, I know what it's like to feel like that, or I know I've seen somebody like that. That's how the S3 framework works. It's about creating these opportunities for people to see themselves in your story. Because here's the thing, people don't buy because of logic. People aren't buying because of the bullet points that you have on your sales page. They're buying because those bullet points, they're buying because the story creates an emotion within them. It creates an emotion where they feel like somebody can see them and understand them, and they feel like somebody has experienced what they're going through, and they can see that somebody hasn't experienced a transformation that they themselves want to be a part of. And that is the whole thing that we will wrap stories into our marketing, because stories are basically, they disarm your audience, they disarm your community, because they're no longer thinking, when we start to tell a story, it's not all about, oh, wait a minute, they're going to sell it to me, because that's generally what happens with our brain. When we see something happening with the sales, we're like, oh, well, here's the story. Here comes the sales pitch. And so sometimes we become resistant to the sales pitch because we don't want to be sold to. But a lot of times, if we have been building up trust with the company, we may be more open to it. But a story automatically gets people to lean in, gets people to listen, to people to, tell me more. I want to hear about this. They're more inclined to be less resistant to your sales pitch, less resistant to your sales offer. If they can imagine what's possible, if they can hear the transformation and see themselves in it, that is what's going to lead to the sale. That is what's going to lead to the natural. Yes, I want that too. I want that transformation too. And that's what storytelling is going to do for you. So let's go through this storytelling framework, the S3 framework that you can use in this. You can use this in your marketing content, your sales posts, your sales um, your sales marketing. Discover calls. You can use this here. You can use it in your email marketing or even just casual conversations. Let's say you hop on a Zoom call with somebody and you're having this conversation. Think about how you can utilize the S3 framework of struggle, shift, and solution into your stories. All right, let's go through this one step at a time. Let's talk about struggle. Obviously, if you think about what struggle is, it's obvious. It's where the person's struggling. This is their pain point. This is the challenge. This is what your story is going to be about. So you want to make sure that you've built your story around this struggle. So let me give you an example here. It says, I worked with a client who was completely burned out trying to do all the marketing things. She's posting daily, following all the tips, and still wasn't seeing results. So this is a good way to start the struggle. But let me add another interesting piece to this. So if I was to start out my story, instead of saying I worked with a client, I could start it out by saying, meet Sarah. Sarah is a client of mine who I worked with, who was completely burnt out trying to do all of the marketing things by herself. She was posting daily, and Sarah was following all the tips and still not seeing results. The little difference there is now I have named my client. I have given her a name. I have shared with you, meet Sarah. I've brought her into the picture. So it feels more like a story, like I'm about to share something because meet Sarah. What's so special about Sarah? So now I've created the struggle that Sarah is going through. And I want you to think about this as this is the relatable picture of somebody else who might be thinking, I'm like Sarah. I'm burned out. I'm doing all the marketing things too, posting daily, following all the tips, and I'm not seeing results. What happened with Sarah? So we moved into the shift then. The shift is when it hits that breaking point. The struggle is the breaking point. So the shift is more like the after moment, the thing that changed. So let's get into our story here again. So Sarah kept second guessing every one of her posts. She's still struggling here. She spent hours on Canva. She still felt like nothing was landing. And the worst part, it wasn't that these things weren't landing. She was starting to lose faith in herself. She was starting to believe that she wasn't cut out for this. And then a shift happened when she moved past the doubt. We could talk about what happened to pull her out of this place. We could say the shift happened because she realized after months and months of not making any money, she said to herself, I could either stay in this cycle of being here like this, or I could do something different. I could make a change because something in her head, maybe it was looking at her bank account, maybe it was the frustration of working and working and working and not seeing results, but knowing that there has to be something different, something has to change. And so she had a shift, whether it was a mindset shift, whether it was a financial shift, maybe she ran into some financial problems. There's a shift that happened, and that's the part that you're going to tell in your story. You know, what pulled her out of this place? Because this is that moment where the audience says, yes, 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 that's me. I want to get pulled out of that moment. I am in that struggle. And if this happened to Sarah, if Sarah can get herself out of this, I want to know more about what happened and how did Sarah get this? How did Sarah move into this place? So the third step is solution. What is the results that they get after working with you or buying your product? So let's go back to Sarah. So Sarah bought the Content Calendar Blueprint program. Um, this is a program that I have that helps people with their content calendar. So Sarah was able to utilize this program and she started using it. She worked through the whole program. And so it taught her how to show up consistently. It taught her how to create content ideas. It taught her how to develop a strategy. The Content Calendar Blueprint program actually will show you how to do more than just set up your calendar, but to set it up in a way that works for you and your business. And it's authentic to the way that you work and authentic to how you, utilize your business and how you share your business. So she bought the Content Calendar program. And that was her solution. So she started, it was the program allowed her to start showing up consistently. And when she showed up consistently and she started creating better content, her engagement went up. But more importantly, so did her confidence because she started to see that really what she needed was more of a structure. What she needed was to hit that shift, to hit that mindset shift, and to find a solution. And this was her solution. So 2 weeks later, she booked her first new client by just sharing her weekly stories post. So this is the part that inspires the action. So when we think about the solution, it's not just, oh, she bought this and this is how it worked. We want to talk about what inspired the action, what happened, what really, really great transformation happened for her. Why did it happen? She did her, she increased her confidence because she started to see engagement. She started to see that people were interacting with her post and she realized that it wasn't her business. It wasn't her. It was the way that she was managing her content calendar. It was the way that she was managing her content ideas. And that was the shift for her. So when she found a solution to help her work through this and to learn new skills, that is what got her to the place where she is now able to make a transformation. So you see how all of this works together. And when we put the S3 framework together, we tie it all together. It allows you to have your audience and your potential customers now get emotionally connected in your business. Now get emotionally connected with your services, and they can see themselves moving forward. They can see that there is a path forward. So this struggle, this pain point, this challenge that they're experiencing, you have a solution for it, and you're sharing this in your story because you're not pushing them to buy. You're inviting them to take this next step into your transformation. And so here's my note to remind you that even though you're watching the video right now, down below, there is a workbook for you to download, and it's going to give you some prompts to get you started writing your business story, to get you thinking about this, the whole S3 format with the struggle and the shift and the solution and how you can start sharing this storytelling content with your marketing. And I want you to remind you here, don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about making sure that everything is keyword optimized. In fact, the more you, you, that you put into this, the better it's going to sound because it's going to be very authentic to you. And it's going to be very authentic to your voice. It's going to be very authentic to who you are and how you run your business. Because the goal is not to be pushy. The goal is not to manipulate. The goal is to move people, is to move them from just being a follower, just landing on your, downloading your lead magnet, and move them into becoming a customer. Because when they begin to see themselves in your stories, when they stop scrolling past your post and they start reading it and they start imagining themselves in your story and they start to see that the solution could be the solution that they themselves are looking for, that's when they buy. Because it's not just the product or the program that they're buying. They're buying the belief that your solution can actually help them change, and it can change and give them a transformation that they're looking for. So thank you for joining me today on the Marketing Strategy Hub training videos. If you're ready to take some action, I'd love to see you join us in the Marketing Strategy Collective. We are meeting on Patreon, and this is where we take all of these concepts, we take all of this training stuff that you're going to be learning, and we teach you how to turn them into action. You'll get monthly strategy workbooks very similar to what you have downloaded with this training video, and you get to join us in group collaborative sessions. So the links are below. You know what to do to learn more. So thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate that, and I hope that you will be adding some storytelling into your marketing so that you can start to reach more customers and make more sales. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to teaching you again. Bye-bye.